Hello everyone. This weekend, Christians around the world will be commemorating the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. In preparation, the Kingston Church of Christ will be presenting a 4-part series entitled Witnesses of the Cross in the form of short lessons. Today, it is fitting for the Pilate episode for us to look at Pilate. In Luke chapter 22, verse 66 to 23, verse 16, it says, "At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and the teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. 'If you are the Messiah,' they said, 'tell us.' Jesus answered, 'If I tell you, you will not believe me. And if I ask you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God.' They all asked, 'Are you then the Son of God?' He replied, 'You say that I am.' Then they said, 'Why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips.' Then the whole assembly rose and led him off to Pilate. Pilate was a political representative of Rome. At the time, Rome was the most powerful city on earth and ruled that region of the world. Of all the subjects, the Jews had a very special privilege. In the not so distant past, a Jewish man by the name of Herod made a deal with Caesar to become king of that region, and he was a loyal vassal of Caesar. When he died, his children actually took over the kingdom and his rule became a dynasty. Because of this alliance with Rome, the Jews got special favors, which they did not want to lose, and any hint of disloyalty to Rome could cause their privileges to be revoked. So they played a dangerous game. They were loyal enough to keep their privileges, but they had hoped for the coming Messiah who would overthrow the Roman government and establish Israel as a nation. In the meanwhile, the Jewish leaders would help to expose any fake messiahs who unnecessarily caused trouble for Israel. Pilate was governor of Judea. However, he resided on the coast of Caesarea Maritima and came to Jerusalem only at certain times. The Passover was especially an important festival. The Jews had in the past been restive during the festival. If there was ever a time that security and governance were needed in Jerusalem, it was at this present time at the Passover. It was in that atmosphere that Jesus' ministry existed. He would not silence those calling him Messiah, and his miracles seemed to validate their praise. The Jewish leaders saw Jesus as a threat, and they wanted him to say with his own mouth. And what he said to them, it was validation that he was claiming to be the Son of God. It was not in the Jews' interest for Jesus to be saying these things or for people to hold him as a Messiah. And it was not in Pilate's interest either. They had a trial and they found him guilty. In verse 2 of chapter 23, it says, "And they began to accuse him, saying, 'We have found this man subverting our nation. He opposes payment of taxes to Caesar and claims to be the Messiah, a king.' So Pilate asked Jesus, 'Are you the king of the Jews?' 'You have said so,' Jesus replied. Then Pilate announced to the chief priests and the crowd, 'I find no basis for a charge against this man.' But they insisted, 'He stirs up the people all over Judea by his teaching. He started in Galilee and has come all the way here.' On hearing this, Pilate asked if the man was a Galilean. When he learned that Jesus was under Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at the time. After questioning Jesus for a while and getting no answer, Herod sent Jesus back to Pilate. It continued in verse 13. Pilate called together the chief priests, the rulers and the people, and said to them, 'You brought me this man as one who was inciting the people to rebellion. I have examined him in your presence and have found no basis for your charges against him. Neither has Herod, for he sent him back to us. You can see he has done nothing to deserve death. Therefore, I will punish him and then release him.' So it is clear that Pilate wanted to release Jesus. It's not that Pilate was unable to deal with rebellion. He had a reputation of being cruel. But a frightening dream from his wife, who you'll hear about tomorrow from Simone, coupled with the accusation that he was the Son of God, appeared to rattle Pilate. He seemed to believe that Jesus was indeed deity. In John 9, in verse 7, it says, the Jewish leaders insisted, we have a law, and according to the law, he must die because he claimed to be the Son of God. When Pilate heard this, he was even more afraid. So he was rattled because of these accusations. Pilate had the opportunity to do the right thing, but he struggled to do it. He thought of a last-ditch effort. It was a governor's custom to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd at this time of year, and he suggested to release Jesus. But it says in verse 18, the whole crowd shouted, away with this man! Release Barabbas to us! Barabbas had been thrown into prison for an insurrection in the city and for murder. Wanting to release Jesus, Pilate appealed to them again, but they kept shouting, crucify him! Crucify him! For the third time he spoke to them, why? What crime has this man committed? I found in him no grounds for the death penalty. Therefore, I will have him punished and then release him. But with loud shouts, they insistently demanded that he be crucified. And their shouts prevailed. So Pilate decided to grant their demand. He released a man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, the one they asked for, and surrendered Jesus to their will. Pilate was stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one hand, he believed that he could be dealing with a deity. On the other hand, he was a politician with loyalties, and a riot would have jeopardized his position. He represents so many people today. They fear God, but they also have their reasons or excuses for not doing the right thing. They try to find the middle ground to disobey and yet escape responsibility. My hope is that this year, as we commemorate the crucifixion, that you will change your mind. Pilate got only one chance to get it right. You have chances at least once per year, every year, to reflect upon the death of Jesus and to make the right choice to live for God. So let this year be the year you make the right decision to follow Jesus. Thank you.